All right, folks, let's talk about wrestling. Favorite Rey Mysterio moment. BRF, you go first.
Mm, I have a lot. I have a lot of Rey Mysterio moments because he's definitely one of those I grew up with, regardless of whether they were a heavyweight or a cruiserweight. I mean, he is the lucha libre goat for me in terms of like Mexican wrestling and what Mexican wrestling means to the sport. Um, I got a few that stand out. I don't want to use up too much, but his Lucha Underground run, I loved it. I thought it was amazing because this was after he left. Because this was after he left WWE and he wasn't in the greatest of shape, so he had to basically work himself back into shape. And then that Lucha Underground run, like his like Pentagon Junior and Prince Puma and all those guys he wrestled up against Lucha Underground. I mean, they were just it reminded people just how good Rey Mysterio is. And you look at him now being damn near 50, still putting out some of the matches he's having. I mean, the dude is a marvel. He is incredible what he's still doing at his age. But if I have to pick one that stands out as my favorite, honest to God, for me, it's probably his 2006 run. I mean, granted, I get it. With the with Eddie, with Eddie and all that stuff. Eddie Guerrero passing away, but that 2006 run, really, that first half of 2006, like he set a record at the time, being the longest participant in the Royal Rumble in the history of the match. I think it was like an hour, 6 minutes, 31 seconds, or something like that. Wins it. Final two is him and Triple H. No, final three was him, Triple H, and Randy Orton. He eliminates Triple H and Randy Orton to win the Royal Rumble match. And then the No Way Out, where Randy Orton gets his win to makes to kind of to insert himself in it, and then a triple threat at WrestleMania 22 with Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, and Kurt Angle, and he wins the World Heavyweight Championship. You can say people can say all they want to, like it was a charity thing because of Eddie Guerrero and all that other stuff. But for me, that run stands out for me because it showed that anybody can be successful as far as the wrestling game. Like it doesn't just have to be cruiserweights going up against the cruiserweights and thus forth. Rey Mysterio showed you that he could beat bigger dudes, and he kind of made that mark as being the biggest little man in WWE. I mean, he earned that. He earned that moniker, and he continued to just go out and show it and show it and show it. If I had to pick one run for me, it's that run from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania where he became World Heavyweight Champion. But I tell you what though, man, some of the matches and some of the rivalries that he's had, Chris Jericho, CM Punk, Eddie Guerrero, like just it's just some of the greatest matches you'll ever see. Halloween Havoc 1997. If y'all ain't seen that match with him and Eddie, y'all need to go put that on repeat. Put it on repeat. That is one that I'm talking about. That's one of those ahead of its time matches. You could run that match move for move in this era, and it would tear the house down. That's how good that match was. Eddie Eddie Guerrero got rest his soul, and Rey Mysterio just all they did was have banger matches. That's all they did. But I would say the 2006 run stand out. But man, Rey Mysterio's had so many goddamn good matches, man. It's just hard to choose.
Champ?
I'm going to piggyback on what he said about Halloween Havoc. That was my favorite moment because the thing is, that stole the show, and that was the third match on the card. And if you will allow me to, here was the card. Now, this was the card after they went on. After that, it was Alex Wright versus Steve McMichael. And then, shortly after that, it was Kurt Hennig versus Ric Flair. Then, Scott Hall versus Lex Luger. Larry Zbyszko was the special guest referee. A sudden death match between Randy Savage and DDP, which was named Rivalry of the Year that year in wrestling. And then after that, it was a steel cage match between Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan. And out of every last one of those matches with all of those big names, they stole the show on that. He's on the cover of that Halloween Havoc, on that Halloween Havoc video, for those of you who still remember videos, DVDs. He's on the cover on that for a reason. Rey Mysterio. That was a classic match. Man, look, while we speaking on rivalries, let's not forget the classic battles that he used to have with one of the most underrated wrestlers, arguably in history, in Cruiserweight. Let's not forget some of those battles he had with Juventud Guerrero.
Forget Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah, and Chavo Guerrero. You know, the battles he had with Juventud Guerrero, I mean, that was Rey Mysterio was an underdog in his own right, man. You know, he proved to everybody you don't have to be 6'7", 6'8" in order to succeed. You can be great in your own right and still be smaller. And not to mention, man, look, if you notice a pattern with all of these young men, as far as Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, you know, the late, you know, a late great wrestler who we can't say his name. All of these guys were underutilized in WCW. They didn't know how to use them. Yet Vince, regardless of what you may think, used these guys and got them to the pinnacle. And you can name the name. They stole the show at Halloween Havoc 97 with that stacked card that they had with Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan having a steel cage match at the end. And that pay-per-view had 1.1 million buys. And he's on the cover of that for a reason. Man, I can't fathom to say how special Rey Mysterio was, man. Rey Mysterio was one special wrestler. He still is, man. And the fact that he gave us not only one gift, which was his career, he turned right back around and gave us a second gift with his son,
Dominique.
Yes, because whereas he was the
Do you remember the SummerSlam match, champ, between him and Eddie Guerrero?
Yes. He turned right back around and gave up the best guy of probably one of the most specialist baby faces of all time, turned right back around and said, okay, I'm never going to be a heel. I'm going to turn right back around and give you one in the form of my son. And so it's that's special, man. You know, that's special.
Yeah, I gave you the moment, him versus Eddie, that match is SummerSlam, fighting for the custody for Dominique. That was the promos that led to it. Another great Rey Mysterio moment, and I told this to Champ. Remember when he 619 Big Show? Big Show landed flat on his ass to the point in which Big Show got furious.
Yeah. I remember that.
What the hell?
Oh boy.
I'm gonna continue with them pipe bombs, but Rey Mysterio, yeah, I mean, to your point, champ, he was like 5'5", 5'6", 160 something pounds, and to prove that he could be a top guy, that says a lot about him. And his days in ECW too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that. Let's not forget them good days in ECW. But him and Eddie, their legendary matches, and him and Dominique, that's for sure.